On June 28, 1903, Malcolm Ivan Meredith Nurse was born in Tacarigua, Trinidad, to parents James Hubert Alfonso Nurse and Anna Susanna Sinister. James Nurse was the great-grandson of an Asante warrior from Ghana who was enslaved in Barbados. James worked as a school teacher. Anna Sinister's roots trace back to Antigua, and she worked as a naturalist. He spent his early educational years attending grade school in Trinidad's capital city, Port of Spain, before attending Port of Spain's government-assisted selective Catholic secondary school, St. Mary's College. After attending St. Mary's College for 2 years, Padmore transferred to Pamphilian High School, where he would earn his high school diploma in 1918. For the next 5 years, Padmore was able to hone his writing skills working as a reporter for the Trinidad Publishing Company. Even though he was working and making money for himself, he wanted to further his education. Padmore decided to immigrate to the United States in 1924 to study medicine. He would land in Nashville, Tennessee, and attend Fisk University to further his medical studies. 1924 is also the year that Padmore would marry a woman named Julia Semper, who lived with him in the U.S., and they produced a daughter named Blyden. Padmore would leave Fisk University and move to New York City, New York, to attend New York University before transferring to Howard University in Washington, D.C. While attending Howard University, Padmore was introduced to the Workers' Communist Party of the United States of America, or the CPUSA. He officially became a member of the CPUSA in 1924. Before joining the party, he changed his name from Malcolm Ivan Meredith Nurse to George Padmore. He participated in the party's American Negro Labor Congress, a movement used to organize and advance the rights of African Americans via the Communist Party. Padmore's work within the Communist Party was being noticed by communist politician William Z. Foster. Foster recommended Padmore to the party as a future leader, so Padmore was rewarded by going to Moscow, Russia, to give a report to the Communist International about the formation of the Trade Union Unity League. Padmore's report was pleasing to the Communist International, so he was asked to head the Negro Bureau of the Red International of Labor Unions, also known as Profintern. His popularity was growing, and his responsibilities were increasing as well. He was elected to serve on the Moscow City Soviet Workers' Council. Padmore will also begin using his writing skills and Profintern's resources to write and distribute literature and pamphlets to the people of Russia. He will also write in Moscow's newspaper, the Moscow Daily News, which was an English-language newspaper. As one of the principal organizers of Profintern, he contributed to the organizing of an international conference that was held in Hamburg, Germany. As a result of the conference, black labor leaders from across Africa and throughout countries along the Atlantic coast gathered to form the International Trade Union Committee of Negro Workers, or the ITUCNW. The organization's mission was said to be a transnational platform for the African people it served. During this time, Padmore moved from Moscow, Russia to Vienna, Austria, where he worked as an editor for the newspaper owned by the ITUCNW called the Negro Worker. Padmore was living in Hamburg, Germany in 1931, where he produced a great amount of literature for the ITCUNW, such as magazines and pamphlets to help push the message of liberation for African people. Padmore's relationship with the Communist Party was coming to an end. The Nazi Party had taken control over Germany by 1933. The office of the Negro Worker newspaper was raided by Nazi extremist groups looking to suppress any movement that wasn't in support of the Nazi Party. Because of the Nazi Party gaining power, Padmore was deported to England. The ITUCNW was disabled, and the Negro Worker newspaper was suspended. In 1933, Padmore became aware of the Comintern's intent to become aligned with the colonial powers that oppressed African people, so he gave up his membership with the ITUCNW. After renouncing his membership with the ITUCNW, he refused to explain his actions to the International Control Commission, so he was dismissed from the Communist Party and the Communist movement in 1934. Padmore was also prohibited from entering the United States because of his ties to the Communist Party. Now living in France, Padmore continued to write and find other means of support for the liberation of African people. With the help of British heiress and writer Nancy Connard and the Lawrence and Wishart Publishing Company, Padmore was able to write and publish his book, How Britain Rules Africa, in 1936. He was also one of the few men of African descent at the time to publish a book in the UK, and the book was popular enough to be translated into German. 1934 was also the year Padmore moved to London, England, and joined a group of savvy and skilled African writers using their pens to articulate and push ideas of Pan-Africanism throughout the diaspora. He was able to reunite with a childhood friend, the influential Mr. C.L.R. James, who was cementing himself as a stout Pan-Africanist, writer, and speaker. Padmore became the chairperson for the International African Service Bureau, or the IASB, an organization founded by James, and a platform Padmore could use to continue his fight for African people globally. Padmore was serving in an organization with people such as Amy Ashwood Garvey and Jomo Kenyatta. Writing became the vehicle Padmore and his colleagues decided to use to spread ideas of independence and Pan-Africanism across the diaspora. Accompanied by Jomo Kenyatta, Kwame Nkrumah, and Peter Abrahams, Padmore and his colleagues produced a large amount of literature ranging from pamphlets to books. 1945 was the year C.L.R. James was instrumental in the meeting of George Padmore and Kwame Nkrumah in London, England. It was also the year that Padmore organized the Manchester Pan-African Conference, which was the 5th Pan-African Conference attended by African leaders from across the globe. The mission of this conference was to create a comprehensive plan to decolonize African people and nations globally. Padmore's relationship with James and other writers in London became strained over time. There is even evidence of writings describing each other in unflattering words. Padmore was able to maintain his relationship with Nkrumah and was even able to become a writer for the Accra Evening News publication in 1947. In 1953, he wrote the book The Gold Coast Revolution. He followed that book by publishing Pan-Africanism or Communism. In 1954, Padmore moved to Ghana to become an advisor for Nkrumah, but that did not last long because of health reasons. He moved back to London to receive treatment for psoriasis of the liver. George Padmore died on September 23, 1959. He received many honors, dedications, and awards for his contributions to African people. In total, he published 13 works of literature and contributed to hundreds of magazines, articles, newspaper articles, and pamphlets to help African people gain their independence globally. Mr. Malcolm Ivan Meredith Nurse, aka George Padmore, we proudly stand on your shoulders.